humbled by this opportunity. And first and foremost, we can thank Erik because we're stressing about the sun and we got a nice cloud cover right in time for this event, for this celebration of life. As for behalf of Kathy and Sky, I want to thank everybody for taking the time out and being here. Those on Zoom, I can't see you, but I'm hoping you can see me because I have a big reflection right here. My little story, we're going to have a little bit of service, a little memorial. Kathy will come up here and we're going to open up the microphone to share some stories and experiences, strengths, and hope that you shared with Erik and experiences you had, which should be very awesome. For myself, I was in this house about 7 years ago dating my wife, and we played Cards Against Humanities in this backyard. And it was a great experience. And just this last 6 months, I got to know Erik a little bit better. I get to go golfing with Denny and Mike and Phil. And the few times we got golfing, the first time I went there, I was like, this place is amazing. We're at the Stripe Show. They would have donuts and stuff. We were there before they got there sometimes because it was hot. And the second time I went, I'm like, man, these guys have muffins every time. I come to find out Erik is the one bringing the muffins to the guys and putting them on the counter because that's the kind of dude he was. So that was super cool. And then he's like, you want to hear me watch me piss off Denny? Yes, I do. He says, watch this. And he takes out what he calls a cheater club. It's a hybrid 9-iron. He cracks it, and you hear Danny from the other side, put that club away. You're cheating. And I just start cracking him. I'm like, this is a perfect friendship. I love what I saw. I love being a part of that. But today, Kat had me move up, so I'm going to use my phone notes instead of my paper notes. But Kat was kind enough to give me a lot of stuff from Erik's journal, notes that he made, things he might have scratched down, or verses he may have read. It was a lot. I took Friday off and just immersed myself into the thoughts and the readings that he put together. So today we're here to honor Erik. And if you really listen, he already told us how he saw life. In his own words, he wrote, one day at a time, I can always start my day over. This was just not a phrase. This is the man that understood grace. Because a lot of us would walk around thinking we've gone too far, we messed up, we took too many wrong turns. But Erik reminded himself, and now all of us, no matter how early or how late, or somewhere in between, we can start again. He also wrote, mountains out of molehills, not anymore. That's perspective. That's actually what I named what I'm speaking about today is perspective, because this really opens your eyes and gives you perspective of it's never enough time around. You just never know when God calls you home. That is perspective. That's growth. That's someone learning to let go of what doesn't matter and hold on to what does. And then this, God grant me a new version that it's all okay no matter what the way. That's faith. That's real faith, not polished, but not perfect, but honest. And if you want to know what really mattered most, Erik, what grounded him, what gave him life real meaning, was his daughter Sky. Sky, you're not living your dad's story, not just his past, but his purpose. Everything he learned, everything he fought through, every moment he tried to grow, it wasn't just for him, it was also for you. Here you are, an adult stepping into your life, and I just want you to hear this clearly. Your dad's love for you didn't end, didn't get buried, and it didn't fade. It lives on in who you are, and the strength you carry, and in the choices you'll make moving forward. If there's anything he wants for you in this message, he wrote simply himself, take life one day at a time. I think this message is for everybody. You don't ever believe you can't start again. There's a story in the gospel that talks about this very thing. So let's go to church for a minute. In Luke 5, Jesus tells 3 parables in a row: the lost sheep, the lost coin, and the lost son. I'm going to share with you the lost son from the New Living Translation, word for word. Tax collectors and others notorious sinners would often come to hear Jesus teach. This made the Pharisees and the other leaders of the Jewish law complain because he was associated with such sinful people and even eat with them. To further illustrate his point, Jesus told this story. A man had 2 sons. The younger son told his dad that he wanted half his estate before he died. The father agreed. He divided the estate between the 2 sons. A few days later, the younger son packed his belongings and moved to a distant land where he spent his inheritance on wild living. Just about the time the money ran out, a big famine came across the land and he was hungry. He persuaded a local farmer to put him to work. The farmer agreed to put him in the field feeding the pigs. He was so hungry that even the pods he fed the pigs started looking good to him, but no one gave him anything. He came to his senses and realized, even my father's servants have enough left over to share. I will return home and tell my father, I have sinned against heaven and I have sinned against you, and I no longer deserve to be your son. Please hire me as your servant. So the younger son went home. Still a far way off, the father sees the son. And with love and compassion, he ran to him, embraced him, kissed him. The younger son said, Father, I sinned against heaven, I sinned against you, I don't deserve to be called your son. And the father looked at the servant and said, go get the finest robe in the house and put it on him. Put sandals on his feet and a ring on his finger, and kill the calf that we have been fattening. For today we celebrate. For my son was once dead and now alive. He was lost and now been found. Meanwhile, the older son comes in from the fields, hears the music and the dancing, and asks the servants, what's going on? The servant tells him, today we celebrate, for your brother has returned safely. Your father has asked to kill the fattened calf. The older brother is very angry, refused to go in. His father came out and begged him. He said, Father, for years I have slaved for you, not once not doing anything you asked of me. And you not so much to give me a young goat to eat with my friends. And this son of yours spends all his money on prostitutes and wild living, and you ask for the fattened calf? Father says to the oldest son, my dear son, you have been with me since the beginning. Everything I have is yours. But today we celebrate your brother, for he was once dead and now alive, lost, and now he's been found. The story has so much impact. The son who walked away mad and made mistakes, he hit his bottom. I think everybody in here, except for the youth, I probably hit one kind of a bottom or not if you're in the community with Erik. I know I have. When he finally turned back, he expected a rejection, humiliation, embarrassment, consequences for his actions. But instead, his father ran to him with open arms and received him like Jesus receiving Erik. When we don't feel we're worthy, but he sees perfect in our flaws. We are made in the eyes of his image. His father didn't run to him slowly, not cautiously, but he ran. He wrapped him up, restored him, and loved him exactly where he was at. This story isn't about one son, it's about all of us. Because we all have moments where we feel lost, where we wandered off too far. But the truth is, there's always a way home. And I believe, with everything in me, Erik is home. If he can come back right now, he wouldn't, because he's in the eyes of Jesus. Can't even be mad at that. Not defined by his hardest days, and not measured by his struggles, but welcomed, restored, and at peace. And maybe that's why he also wrote, shall I be the tortoise or the hare? Because life isn't about speed, it's about staying in it. And he ended with this, yes, Lord, renew me. That's a prayer, and that's a legacy. Speaking of legacy, I was able to get here a little early today, unbeknown to what I might find. on the board in the kitchen. He wrote a note to his father, "You rest, you rust." And he had his Father's Day to be passing away. Below that, reset not. Time is sweeping by. Go and dare before you die. Something mighty and sublime. His handwriting's tough. The mighty and sublime. Leave behind to conquer time. So I had a few minutes before this ceremony. Rest not, time is slipping by. Maybe today isn't about saying goodbye, but maybe it's about waking up. To love deeper, to forgive faster, to take a chance, to come home when we've wandered. But Erik just didn't write those words, he lived them. And now they're yours to carry forward. I'm going to close in prayer if we can bow our heads. Father, thank you for the gift of Erik, his life, his love, his presence. Thank you for the moments we shared, the laughter, and even the lessons, though lost. Comfort this family, especially Sky. Wrap them in your peace that goes beyond understanding. And remind us, Lord, that no one comes home to you who's ever turned away. Help us live with purpose, with courage, and with love, just as Erik reminded us. Till we meet again. Amen. I'm going to bring Kathy up. I'm going to switch the microphone out and let her share. And she's been amazing through this process. Thank you, Kathy, for letting me do this.
Oh, thank you, Tim.
Give me 2 seconds on the mic.
I have a pretty big mouth. You guys can hear me without the mic. Ain't that the truth?
Yes,
What?
that-
Who said that? Oh, this isn't a very good angle. I just want to say thank you, everybody, for being here with us today. It just goes to show how much Erik really truly was loved. That you've taken the time out of your Sunday to come celebrate his life with us. Here for Sky. I just want to invite you guys to enjoy. There's a slideshow inside that you don't want to miss. There's a guest book by his guitars and prayer cards too, so make sure that you bless yourself with one of those. I don't know, I kind of figured I knew what I was going to say, but Erik was always there for us. I don't really know what we're going to do without him. Support that you guys have showed us kind of makes us realize that we're not alone, even though it was pretty scary to think that maybe we would be. But one thing is for sure, that Erik loves Skylar with all of his heart. Everything he did, all the decisions he made, was to make sure that Sky was taken care of, and me. He took care of his little family, even though we didn't live together anymore, the best he could, you know. Erik always made me laugh. He had a great sense of humor. He really did. Plus, he was really hot when we met. Boy, he was a good-looking guy. And he just swept me off my feet. You know, our birthdays are both June 11th. You know, we were sitting at coffee talk, and there's a horrible guy playing guitar. It was open mic night, and we were trying to talk to each other over this open mic night, and he asking us, you know, those questions that you ask each other when you first meet. And I said, "When's your birthday?" He says, "June 11th. I'm like, Ray had to have told him that my birthday is. My birthday is June 11th. So we exchanged our driver's licenses because we didn't believe each other. And he's like, "Oh my God." So, all right, I'm gonna marry this guy. Sure enough, you know. Yeah, that was it. That was the interview process. He's good looking. He's got my same birth date. I'm gonna marry him now. Anyways. But you know, the best thing that came out of the love that we shared is Sky, and I wish she didn't leave so soon, and I know she feels the same. We wish you were here, big guy. He loved to be called Easy E. That was his goal, you know, to be peaceful and serene. And he accomplished it. I think at the end, I had the pleasure of sitting down and reading his journals, and I'm like, dude, thank God, man, he really did find peace. And you know, to honor his legacy, this is what I really wanted, was for you guys to be here to see what he has done with the home that he loves so much, that he was building for Sky. And so please make yourselves at home. I would love to hear, we want to hear your stories about Erik. So anyone who wants to share, please. Sky needs these stories to carry her through, you know? So whoever wants to share next. Dan.
We're on Zoom, so we're trying to stand in front of the camera so
The
those that,
Zoom's not working. I got
Oh, my
a
bad.
text from somebody, it's not working.
Yeah, it is.
Okay, here's it, okay. Hey, everybody, I'm Denny.
Danny.
I feel like I'm in an AA meeting. I'm an alcoholic. It's just a habit, I'm sorry. I arrived in Arizona in 2002, and you know, I took a bus. I destroyed my life in Pennsylvania, and I had to come to Arizona to fix my life, and I wound up at the Alano Club, and that's where I met Erik, and he was from Staten Island, and I was from Philadelphia, and right away our egos just kind of, you know, meshed and clashed at the same time. And I asked him, I said, how is this AA stuff? And he looked at me and he said, there's a good group of people here at this place. And I stayed. And I got to know him. And we grew up in the program. And a few years went by, and Erik stopped going to meetings, but he still was sober, and he still had that spirituality that we get when we're in Alcoholics Anonymous. And he still had that. Even though he stopped going, he was still my friend. We used to go to Apache Lake, Sky, and we used to sit there at the fire, and we used to play the guitar and howl and make animal noises late at night while everybody was sleeping, and they'd yell at us, "Shut up, we're sleeping!" We'd make pig noises and horse noises, and we'd start playing the Doors on guitar, singing. It's midnight. It's midnight at Apache Lake, and we're waking everybody up. And I don't want to take too much time. I want to read what I wrote for my friend. And I wish I had a third hand, but I don't. Let me see here. So as time went on, Erik used to call me the Hawk. He was the wolf, I was the hawk. Wolf and hawk. We were together, inseparable. And we did a lot of things together. We golfed mostly these last few years, camping and stuff. We were getting a little too old to be sleeping in tents and stuff. But I wrote this a few weeks ago and changed it. But this is, and I got something else I want to read, but this is so you guys can understand the wolf and the hawk. And I go to a meeting, and I haven't been there in a couple of weeks, but there's a guy I sponsor, and he's Navajo, he's an Indian. And I asked him, I said, in the Navajo, what's the meaning for the wolf and the hawk? And he explained it to me, but I wrote it in my own words. And this is a true Navajo tale that they still live by today. The wolf and the hawk. And I got my glasses, honey. I'm sorry. I do have my glasses. I brought them. Well, these are really my wife's, but she gave them to me. They look all right, right? And Marty said, you're due any day now for the glasses, and it's here. So here we go. The wolf and the hawk. The hawk met the wolf at the edge of the quiet valley, where the wind never seemed to rush, only drift. The wolf had been there first, stretched out in the tall grass, watching in line the turtles inch their way toward the muddy stream. The hawk circled overhead, tracing slow patterns in the sky before settling on a low branch nearby. Neither spoke at first. They simply noticed each other. The stillness of the wolf, the patience of the hawk, and somehow that was enough. Days passed and then weeks, and they fell into an easy rhythm. The hawk would rise with the sun, wings cutting through the cool morning air, while the wolf wandered the valley floor, nose to the wind, reading the stories left behind by every creature that passed. They watched everything together. They watched geese glide across the sky in shifting V-shapes, calling to each other as if they were stitching the air together with sound. They watched deer step lightly through the trees, ears twitching at the smallest crack of a twig. They watched beetles carry burdens far larger than themselves, unwavering, determined. Sometimes the hawk would describe what the world looked like from above, the silver ribbon of the river, the patchwork of the shadow and the light, the distant mountains that seemed close enough to touch but never were. The wolf would listen, eyes half closed, imagining it all. And then in return, the wolf would speak of the ground, the hidden paths, the scent of the rain before it came, the way the earth held warmth long after the sun had gone down. The hawk would tilt its head, and as if trying to feel the soil beneath its talons, even while perched high above it. And when it came time to hunt, they did it together. One from the sky, one from the land. The hawks would soar high, sharp eyes spotting movement far beyond what the wolf couldn't see, circling to guide. Below, the wolf moved with quiet precision, following the hawk's signals, reading the terrain, closing the distance. They worked as one, air and earth in rhythm, each trusting the other, each making the other stronger. One evening, as the sky burned gold and then softened into violet, they sat side by side, ridge overlooking the valley below them. Life moved in small, steady ways, turtles slipping into the water, birds settling in the nests, and the last of the geese disappearing into the horizon. "Do you ever wish to be something else?" the wolf asked. The hawk considered this, watching fading light. "No," it said at last, "but I'm glad I can see what it's like through you." The wolf nodded. "I think that's enough." And so they stayed, two different creatures sharing the same passing moments, not trying to change them, not trying to hold them, just watching together as the world went on exactly what it was, wild, fleeting, and quietly full. And that's that for that.
Thank you, Danny.
And then one other thing, and I'll wrap this up. I know other people want to share. So I didn't know if we were going to do the church or here, and I'm kind of glad, Kathy, thank you. This is proper. This is great. And I had it for both. So this is my eulogy for Erik. Today I'm here to talk about my brother, my best friend, Erik. I'm going to be honest, I still don't even know how to make sense of this. Because Erik wasn't just somebody I knew. He wasn't just a friend I had for years. He was my brother. For almost 24 years, we did life together. We grew up through life together. Through the good, the bad, the crazy, the reckless, the funny, the painful, all of it. And if you knew Erik, then you know he was one of a kind. He had a heart bigger than most people could ever understand. He was kind, caring. He was the guy who would actually stop and listen when you talked. Not fake listen, but wait his turn to speak. He really listened. He gave people his time. He gave people his heart. And in a world where a lot of people are cold, guarded, or too busy for each other, Erik never lost the softness. He was a big-hearted man, a teddy bear, really, But I don't get it twisted. He was also strong. He had presence. He had soul. He had that energy where people just felt safe around him. And you can see this just by looking around here today. And there's a lot of people here because Erik mattered, because he made an impact, because he showed up in people's lives in a real way, because he loved hard and people felt that. Erik was from Staten Island to the bone. That was him forever. But there was a story that was where the story started. Rockaway Beach, the van, the wild times, the laughs, the freedom, the partying, the brotherhood, just living life wide open with no breaks. That was Erik. He didn't halfway live. He lived all the way. But he also knew he needed something more. And that took courage. And he wanted a different life, a better life, a new chapter. And he found that in Arizona. And when he got here, he just didn't exist. He built something. He built a life. He built a relationships. He found who became family. He got married. And he became a father to Skylar. And anybody who knew him knew how much that meant. And that was his heart right there. And Erik wasn't really a religious man, but he was a spiritual in the truest way. He was a man of the land. He loved the earth. He loved the open sky. He loved the feeling of being outside, free, connected to something bigger than all of us. And he respected life. He felt life. He carried that spirit in him. And that's one of the biggest things I'll always hold on to about him. The life we shared outside, we loved all of it. Golfing, camping, sitting around the fire, being out in the open, just breathing, laughing, talking, and feeling like a little wild. Life made sense. That was our thing. Some of the best moments of our lives weren't the big ones, they were the simple ones. Just being outdoors together, side by side, with no walls, no noise, no pressure, just freedom, brotherhood, and peace. And that's where I'll always feel him, in the land, the sky, in the quiet, in the fire, in the moments where the world slows down and you can actually feel something real. And when I think about me and Erik, the only way I know how to say this is that we were like the wolf and the hawk. One on the ground, one in the sky, different but always connected, always moving, always watching out for each other, always feeling like nobody came our way. We build it and take it on together. We really thought we had more time. We really thought we were going to keep going, keep laughing, keep golfing, keep camping, keep sitting by the fires, keep making memories, keep taking on the world the way we always did. And that's the part that hurts the most. Because that wasn't supposed to happen. Not him, not this soon. I think anybody who has ever loved somebody like Erik knows there's no clean way to say goodbye to a man who became part of your soul. Because that's what he was. He wasn't just part of my life. He became part of who I am. And even though his life was cut short, I know this much, that he's not gone. And this is it. Last part. He's in Skylar. He's in his family. He's in his friends. He's in the stories we'll tell forever. He's in the laughs that are going to hit us out of nowhere. He's in the memories that will never leave us. And he's in me. So I stand here today not just to mourn him. I stand here to honor him. To honor the man he was, the heart he had, the love he gave, the brother he was to so many of us. I'm going to miss you for the rest of my life, Erik. I'm going to miss your laugh. I'm going to miss your heart. I'm going to miss knowing you were still out there in the world. But I'll carry you with me always. I love you, brother. Rest easy until we meet.
I wasn't gonna speak, but I feel like I would regret not doing that, so just bear with me. I don't really know what I'm gonna say, but thank you all for being here. I didn't expect to see everyone here. There's a lot I regret. I wasn't the nicest daughter to him, and all he did was try. I just want to say thank you for my friends for being here, for all of you. he really did everything for me, and just walking around this house, just all the pictures, I was his everything. And when I got that call, I was at work, and I had that gut feeling, and my mom didn't tell me. I had to wait like 20 minutes for her to get there, and it was the worst feeling ever. So thank you so much for everyone being here. I don't really know what to say, but I feel like I would really regret it if I didn't end up doing something. So, I don't know. He loved my friends, everyone that he met. He loved my mom very much, even though he probably didn't show it. He was very he was the best, and I just regret not doing everything that he wanted to do with me. He bought me a snowboard, he bought me golf clubs, everything, and I was like, I do not want to fucking do this. I'm not a sports person, so, but I did. Before there was a house down there, there was just a big trail. We would go on our ATVs a lot, with my old friend Jasmine. Her parents are over here. There was just so much that I wish I could do with him, and I won't ever get the time to do that. So, thank you everyone for being here.
Love you, Skylar.
You're right, Denny. It feels like an AA. Hey, everybody. I'm Mike.
Say it, Mike. Come on.
Hi, Mike.
I'm an alcoholic. So, my first real memory of Erik was at the Mesolano, same as Danny, on one of those rare occasions that he was there. And it was Danny who introduced me to him, and he's like, hey, man, how you doing? And when he found out I was also from Philly, he was like, man, another one? And I was like, yep. And hey, do you know Danny? I was like, yes, I know Danny. And, that was about all he said to me that day. And then when the meeting was over, it was just basically, hey, dude, if you need anybody to talk to, I'm here. I was like, I don't really know this guy, so what do I do? I got here in 2016. In 2018, I turned 50. And Kathy, out of the goodness of her heart, surprised me with a party. And the party was here. And, I remember walking into the house and everybody greeting me, and I think half of this wasn't even here yet. And, it was awesome. It was a really good time. But as the night went on, I sat in the kitchen and I had about an hour-long conversation with Erik. And I was given a lot of money from everybody, from all my friends, to buy a kayak. And I was just barely here. I was still new. I was like, yeah, that's such a great thing to do. And then Erik made it a point. It's like, dude, how are you going to get that up to the lake? You don't own a car yet. How are you going to get it there? What are you going to do with it? I'm like, I'm going to put it on the lake. Well, how are you going to get it there? And he kind of leaned in on his counter and he said, use that money for you. If you're planning on staying here, do what you need to do with that money. And he made a good point, and so that's what I did. And I never told anybody that story until now. And then I saw him again at Apache Lake, and we had a talk there, and he was like, what did you do with all that? And I told him, and that's something I shared with Erik, and that's going to stay with me and him. And, but that conversation in his kitchen was the start of a 10-year friendship. I've only known him since I've been here. Most of you have known him a lot longer than I, but he touched me, man. He got to my heart. And I had the opportunity to play golf with him, the same as Danny. And he always greeted me, especially over at Stripe Show. He'd be in the parking lot before me, getting all the clubs out of his Jeep, and he'd be in his socks. And if I was across the parking lot, he would walk across the parking lot in his socks. Hey, Mike, what's up, man? And hug me. And, that bear hug of his, I'd stop breathing for a few minutes. But Danny's right, man. He touched everybody here. He touched my soul. And, I am going to miss him. And, as long as we're around, Skylar, you'll never be alone. So, thank you.
I figured I'd give you the trifecta from Philly. So I wear this hat for Eric. I wear the boots for Eric because we worked hard, we grinded. We're construction guys, and we lived it, and we battled, and what a life it was. The jeans, bad idea, warm day, but I had these chicken legs in the mirror, and I was like, man, Eric, I wouldn't do that to you. So I threw them on. You know, Eric was a dear friend to everybody, all of us. There was a guy that would show up, and I worked with Eric 15 plus years ago, and we really became good friends, and I never let a couple weeks go, and he never let a couple weeks go without us reaching out to each other. He was always there for us, you know, and I wanted to be there for him and be here today for him. You know, I miss Eric, man. This is the playoffs. This is hockey. How me and Eric got to know each other was, so I didn't like New Yorkers. He didn't care for us Philly boys. Got it. And I kind of liked that about him. And then he was like, you're a Flyers guy. I was like, yes, I am. I'm an Islanders guy. And I have choice words for that. But that's how our friendship started. In our conversations, we're always about the Jets and the Islanders, Flyers, Eagles. And I could say that I got a piece of them this year and the years past. I got a couple good stories about Eric. One is construction, about us guys hanging a sliding glass door, and I couldn't get that thing to work. And I'm sliding it back and forth, and it's jamming and jamming, and he put his fingers in there, and I closed that door on his fingers. I'm telling you, I saw 4 pickles. They were dill pickles looking right at me, and he was like, oh! And I couldn't stop laughing. I couldn't. He was like, what are you laughing at? Look at my hand. I was like, the pickles, dude, the pickles. I was like, what? I was like, hold them up. He was like, oh my God. And that was me and his story. And we brought that up to each other multiple times. I loved Eric. Again, I didn't let a lot of time go by. He loved you. He loved us all. And that's the way Eric was. Right? You never walk by Eric without him saying hi to you. And I wish he did get some hearing aids later on down the line. That would have helped out a lot. I mean, I don't know if you ever talked to him on the phone, but there's a lot of what? And, I don't know how he can scream on the phone any louder than I do. But it was always a pleasure. He was my friend. I will miss him. I mean, he was my boy, man, and I really do. I miss him. I miss him today, and I just want to say I love you all, and I love you, Scott. Love you, Kathy. God bless you all.
Hi, I'm Brenda, alcoholic. It does feel like that. I didn't know Eric very well, and but yet I'm his ex-wife's best friend. So I don't have much to say about who he was because I didn't know him. But I knew who he was through Skylar and Kathy and the things that they shared with me and the pictures that I saw of Christmas and Thanksgiving and Easter. And I got the pleasure of creating a slideshow, which Kathy changed completely after I was done. If you know Kathy, she's a perfectionist. So I got to know him through those pictures, which was just, God, what a nice guy. I just was so thrilled to see how much he loved his daughter. And, you know, I said, you know what's funny? Out of all those pictures, I've known Kathy 10 years, there's not one of me with him or them. And that's because he was such, he was a man's man. He loved his friends very, very much. And he was not a lady stalker, you know, like he just was very respectful. I do remember when I first met him, it was here, and I believe it was at Mike's birthday party. And I was like, holy crap, look at those hands. That guy is ginormous. And I kind of thought the theme today, we all should have wore cutoffs. But the red bandana will do, because every picture he has cut off jeans. So Marty, cut your jeans off. I say Daisy, Duke it up. But here's what I do know. I know that I love his ex, Kathy, very, very much, with all my heart. She's been my best friend for 10 years, and we've had good times and we've had bad times. And we have, you know, broke up and made up, and she's just Kathy. She speaks Cathanese. That's what I call it. And Sky doesn't like a whole lot of people. But Sky and I always liked each other from the very beginning. And, you know, it's a blessing that Kathy asked my husband to speak at his memorial today. And it's a blessing for me to have been able to help with everything else. So, Erik, I just want to say good night, sweet brother. We'll miss you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jake, and I met Erik in 2010, and it started off as a business relationship, and then over the years it's turned into a brotherhood, and it's been one of the greatest privileges of my life to get to know him, spend time with him, and long story short, I broke out on my own to flip houses. I didn't know what I was doing. I was told to interview 5 contractors, so I did. And Erik showed up, and he had Freddie with him. And he walked in, and immediately I knew he knew what he was talking about. I didn't, but he did. And he put me at ease. And even though we were both in the program, I didn't know it at the time, but he lived the principles of the program. And that comes out, right? When you live the program, there's something different about you. And those principles of integrity and honesty and doing the right thing, no matter what the cost, all of that stuff just was always so important to him. And so the name of his company was Blue Sky Renovations. And I thought, well, here's a guy who sees the glass half full. I'm going to give him a shot. And what a blessing, and thank God I did. So that one house flip turned into, I don't know how many dozens of house flips, but over the years, he became a keys to keys guy, where I could just meet him there and give him the keys, and then he would tell me when he was done and hand me the keys. And I knew that everything was done according to his standard, not mine. And his craftsmanship and skill level was unbelievable. I mean, you can look around this place and see. But Erik really knew people, right? testament to who's here today. He knew good people in his crew. I mean, Marty and Chris and Mario and all these guys that would come and rally around him. And he knew how to estimate. He'd come up with a budget. He would stick to the budget. And if there were any overages, he wouldn't come to me. He would say, that's on me. My bad, I missed it. And when you go to sell a house, maybe some of you have been down this road, you get an inspection, right? And the inspector's job is to like nitpick this house and go through and find everything. And I would always hate to have to give him the list. It's called the Binzer. And he would take it personally, because when he was done, his goal was to not have anything on that list, and that's not possible. There's always going to be a list. And so he would, man, I can just picture him. A lot of times we'd meet in his van, and in the early days it was taking the car seat out of the van first, and then we would sit and have our meeting. And but he'd be sitting there with his bandana on, and I'd give him the list, and he'd look over the list, and he'd go, it's like someone hit him in the face or something. He'd have to like shake it off, and he'd go like that. And then immediately he would move towards the solution. No problem, we'll knock it out. And so I always just really admired that willingness to like the program, go to any lengths to make it right. And he wanted the homeowner to get the keys to their new home and know that it was quality, know that it was going to stand the test of time, and that it had his stamp of approval on it, which was a high standard. And so after all these years of working together, we started to get more friendly. We found out we were in the program. We started mountain biking and playing a little golf, but we would have office time, and he would come in and we would talk life, God, family, relationships, strategy. And there's a lot of stuff we covered. But one of the last times he came to the office, I had shared with him what's called a 5-year vision. So it's like you close your eyes, you step into a time machine, you open your eyes, you walk out and arrive 5 years into the future. And so I'd shared mine with him. And he was, wow, okay, that's pretty cool. And so he came over and said, hey, I thought a lot about that 5-year vision, and do you want to hear it? And I said, sure. So we did the thing, like, seems kind of corny, but you actually do close your eyes and you turn around 3 times. We were standing in the office and open your eyes, and he almost, he's kind of gathering himself, and he got really emotional, right? Erik was an emotional guy. As big and burly and strong as that guy was, man, he had a soft heart and a big heart. And so he talked about Lone Wolf Ranch, right? That's what his vision for this place was, and that it was done. And he's been working tirelessly. I mean, you guys know everything he's done here, but the vision was to have like Arabian horses boarded out here, and to have a spot where people would come and maybe stay part-time, and that he would be part-time between here and Florida, and that he'd be going to New York to visit, and he'd have his spot here, his spot there, and that people would come here and use the land. He talked about children, and that he wanted to see children, maybe grandchildren, maybe other people's, whoever had these horses come and enjoying the land and the animals. And he just had a really clear picture of what this was going to be. Family was so important to him. I always admired how much he talked to his mother all the time, very close with his sister. Before his father passed, he's like always on the horn with him. Uncle Bob in Florida, I mean, this guy, he would just stay on the phone with him for hours and hours. And he just knew what was important. And, you talked about him wanting to be Easy-E, right? We call him Easy, right? And stuff. And so when he was in Florida recently, helping out with Uncle Bob, he said, I got it. the name of the boat, because in the vivid vision he had a boat too. He wanted to do some fishing and be out on the water, and the water always called him, right? That was part of his heart. And he said, I know what I'm going to name the boat. And it was the letter E with a dash, and then C, like the ocean, S-E-A, so E-C-E. And I thought, that's it. You nailed it. That is so cool. So I just thought I would share that. But the other part of the vivid vision, and Sky, we talked about you often in the journey, right? We all have a journey. And what it was like, and then cell phones entered our lives, right? And there was madness, and then doing work on all that. I have kids of my own, so it's been the same thing. Just trying to adapt to today's kids, right? Social media, distractions, everything that it is. And so we would talk about the struggle, right? Man, how do we get our kids to just sit and talk without them being on their phone and all of that? And he was so happy that he felt like it had come full circle, and he had total peace. And he would send me these pictures when you would come over here and have dinner with him, and he would be smiling and pointing. You'd be sitting there on the couch or over there or anything. And so I just know he had total peace about it. And in his 5-year vision, you were such a big part of it. And he said, Sky has found her thing, and she's on fire with her life. Everything's going great. I'm part of it, but I'm allowing her to be herself, be an adult. I have embraced everything as it is fully, and it's just such a blessing to be a part of it. And he was so proud of you. Everything that you've done to get to where you are now. I know sometimes we have coulda, woulda, shoulda and all that, but you showed up for him in a way that filled him up and made him know that you were going to be okay. And so the last thing I'll say, me and Erik and Tony started a little, it wasn't a garage band because it was in the living room there, but we'd started plucking away, playing a few songs. He'd always send a cool set list and give me encouragement because I suck. And so we would have these conversations, and they were great. And the last one was maybe a month ago maybe, Tony, we were here, and we were talking about Lone Wolf Ranch, and Tony and I are about accountability, right? We're trying to like, well, when are you going to do it? Well, when are you going to rent it? When are you going to? And he looked at us and said, when the time is right, I'll be ready. Remember, Tony?
I remember.
And at the time, I thought it was about this Lone Wolf Ranch. But as I've been reflecting and talking to him, and, to him, 4 o'clock coffee hour and the sunset and being outside with the animals, I mean, that will always stay with me. I've been out there doing that at my house, talking to him. And I knew that when the time is right, I'll be ready, meant that he was right with the Lord. Like, in the beginning, the first 10 years, we didn't talk about Jesus. We talked about an AA higher power, which is how I came up through AA. But towards the end, he's like sending me all this scripture. I'm like, man, Erik's getting deep. And he's going deeper. He's got all these books. And I know that he was right with the Lord, and I know where he is. He's in heaven, looking down on all of us. And he was ready, just like he said he was going to be, to go and be promoted to glory. So anyway, thank you.
Hello, I'm Georgia. Some of you may know me. I just want to say I've known Kathy since she was Sky's age, and like a few people here have. And I came here today to support Kathy and Sky. I know how tragic it is to lose a father, and this is just a tragedy, and it really is. And I just wanted to be here for you and support you. And yeah, it's sad. It's sad, but life goes on. And he had a lot of good friends. And I know he loved you, Sky. I know he loved you. And that's all I wanted to say. Thanks for letting me share.
I'm Chris. I'm going to try not to make this all about me. You can't do that, though. I hate that. I get nervous in front of crowds.
Okay, I'm done.
I'm sitting back there, and all of a sudden I'm remembering of the times I had nowhere to go, you know, and Eric and Kathy and baby Sky would say, come on over and have Thanksgiving. Come on over and have Easter. Come on over and have Christmas. We have food, and I always love free food, so I'd come for free food. And him, Denny, and Marty were like, you know, because one time I decided I'm going to be a painter. And Eric would be like, oh, there's the old gals. You want to use my sprayer? There's the two old gals in the sprayer. I mean, he was having fun with it. And he's like, stop putting so much paint on. Next time you do one of my ex-wife Kathy's houses, you get with me because you're spending way too much money on paint. And he's like, we would laugh and we would have a good time. But the memories I really have is when Sky was little and we used to all hang out. It was fun. That's it. Make it
I'm also Chris.
Good timing.
Yeah, I worked with Eric every day. And I don't know if I can do this.
Chris, move over. Can't see.
He's my brother. He was so proud of his house. I'm supposed to go to work Tuesday. I talked to him Saturday afternoon. I just can't believe it still. But he was happy. He loved his kid and his wife. This is all he thought about. He wanted to leave a castle for him. And I just want to say Eric was in a good place. It's sad that he's gone, but he's going to be missed. I miss him. That's all. Thanks. Oh, I want a favor. Turn on the waterfall.
Oh.
It's always on. The hummingbirds will come in water here in the afternoon. Please. For Eric.
We'll do it.
I'm pretty sure I don't need this. I'm Kimberly, and I met Eric and Kathy in 2008, and but before I met them, I was living in a recovery home, and the manager was Kathy's sponsor, and she was telling me about her child that was born. That it was, it was dire. And I had not met you, and I had not met you, and I had not met Eric yet, but I was praying for this little baby. And then I got to meet Kathy and Eric and Skylar, and my daughter and Skylar played when they were little, and those were really good memories. And but when I met Eric, he was like, I grew up at the beach around surfers, and he was like a surfer in a lumberjack's body. Is kind of what I thought. That was from Staten Island. Like, you could not pigeonhole this guy. He was one in a million, and everything that he ever talked about or drove him was his daughter. And it was always, you were always his priority, always, no matter what. And you don't see many fathers like that in this world. And I don't have one bad word to say about him. He was really one of the most kind-hearted, ethical, helpful, and generous people I have ever known. And I do feel like honored and fortunate that I knew him. And I will carry that memory because it was a blessing to know him. Thank you.
Thank you, Kimberly.
Hi everybody, I'm Lori. I got sober June 11th, 1999,
Awesome.
and that's when I was pretty close to Kathy and Erik. I saw them date before Skylar. I didn't have that many experiences because we didn't belong to the same home group, but I was over at Courage Change and we'd run into each other quite often. One of the times I was over at Kathy's house and we kept hearing this little meow, and I don't know if Skylar remembers this or not, but we kept hearing this little meow, and Erik came over. He was doing some work for Kathy, and he came over and he dug a kitten out of their wall. And they ended up keeping, what did you name it?
Wall baby.
Wall baby. I couldn't remember. I didn't have something to do with putting in the wall. But it was so sweet. That was the sweetest little thing that I ever saw. And he was so sweet. He was so tender. And you could tell that he loved both Kathy and Skylar. It was really awesome. Another time he came over to Courage Change as a PICPC person, and he talked to us for about an hour and a half about how to take AA into the business world, and he did an excellent job. I don't know, I was just so surprised because I always knew him as the person that did construction, and I wasn't expecting him to do such a great job at that. But he did a wonderful job. And I don't know, every time I was around Erik, he just gave me warm feelings. And I was here when we were doing oils or something, and he was here, and it was really a good time every time, I saw him. So anyway, really glad to be here. I'm so sorry for the circumstances, but I know he is in a much better place, so really grateful. Thanks.
I don't need the mic. You can hear me. I got a loud voice. I came from New York and I met Erik at the rooms. And I kept asking him to hire me and he wouldn't hire me. He said, "You don't know what you're doing." So eventually one day he hired me and I did a job for him and he said, "Oh, you do know what you're doing." And after that we've worked together for years. They weren't even living in this house. They were living on a house off of University when I met them. And Erik fired me like 4 or 5 times. Kathy kept saying, "Why you keep firing Fred?" and Marty and Chris.
She fired us at Christmas.
Oh my God.
And the thing about it was, there was 3 of us. There was like 6 of us at one time, but it was me, Marty, and Chris. We worked in this one complex, and they used to call us the Pirates. And we would run through that place. Erik, as big as Erik was, he could move pretty fast. Come on, we gotta go over here. We gotta go over there. And he had us running back and forth to each apartment. Because we didn't know that he took on a job being the maintenance man in the complex, but he did. And we were his workers. And we had a great time with Erik. I loved Erik. I call Erik every 3 weeks and I talk to Erik. And we always say we're gonna get together. And I missed him. I really miss him. He was a good friend to me. He was a great friend to me, even though he fired me 3 times. But it was all right because he always hired me back. So it was okay. But that's all I got to say. But Eric was a great guy, and we're gonna miss him. We're definitely gonna miss him. Thank you.
Thanks for being here.
Hey, Dan. Good to see you.
Oh gosh, there's a lot more people when you get up here. Eric and Kathy were like an aunt and uncle to me my whole lives. I've grown up with them being in my life when Skylar and I were little, and Aurora and Travis coming over here, going swimming. As Marty and I were talking about when they had the bushes and we were getting attacked by bees and running from the bees into the house. But he lit up every room he walked into. I remember I wasn't the outgoing person, and he was my partner at my mom and Marty's wedding. And he said, "We're gonna go in here dancing." And I just looked at him like he was nuts. And I was like, "I am not dancing in here." But he did. He was the life of the party, and he lit up every room he walked into. And last weekend, Governor Lumu's, and we had a wedding to go to, me and my husband. And we're driving down the street, and I just felt this feeling all of a sudden. And I saw the white flowers at the end of the street, and I said, "I think this is my uncle's street." And he kind of just looked at me, my husband did, and I called Marty and I said, "Check my location, please." And he goes, "You're right across the street from his house." And I walk in, and the neighbors across the street, you can tell that they just loved him so much. Their kids loved him. They had a picture for him, and it just shows how much he impacted other people's lives. I love you both. I'm here if you need anything, Skylar, and you never have to be alone.
Thanks.
Hi, my name's Phil, and I want to say sorry for your loss. You went too early. I'm just getting to know Eric. I've been over here a few times, and he's one of those guys that you instantly could become friends with him because he was humble, right? And he just lived lower than he was, but he was a big guy and really strong, but he didn't like throw his weight around. And you learn about people on the golf course. And at first he wasn't very good, but he kept practicing. And they were talking about that 9-wood he was hitting, right? It was like a women's club. And I'd give him trouble about hitting that 9-wood. He'd tee it up really high. And a 9-wood, like for him, as strong as he was, he could hit it 300 yards, but he'd used it on a 100-yard hole. And he hit it really close. And I go, wow. And we'd always like give him trouble, but he never would say anything, right? And I remember the 7th hole at the Stripe Club, which was like the worst golf course in Arizona, but we all adopted this course. It's just a horrible course, and the greens are horrible. They're like putting in that dirt out there. But he hit the shot on the 7th hole a few months ago, and he missed the putt for a birdie, you know. But he didn't like throw his club or get mad or anything. And then the last round we played over there, he hit it right next to the hole, and he made the putt for birdie. And Danny and I are jumping around, and he just shrugged it off. Like you could see he was smiling, but it just didn't mean that much to him, you know. But I knew it did. I mean, but he just didn't show things like that. Thanks for having it here. This is, he built this place. You could tell he's got his love in this house, and I can feel him here, and I miss him. So it was tough to hear. He went too early, but I know he's in a better place, and it sounds like he was getting prepared, and getting closer to God, which is what we're all trying to do. So I'm really glad you guys had this. And pray for you guys.
Thanks, Phil.
Up there.
Don't put it there.
Don't put it there.
yours, Kathy.
Hi, I'm Tiffany. Eric and I, we were dating a lot before his passing. We spent every holiday together over the last year, and I loved Eric, and planning a future together. He was one of the most thoughtful, kind, generous person that I've ever met. He was different. We told him I liked him because he had personality. And he said, yeah, I have enough personality for everybody. I have a lot. When he would come over, my whole family loved him. My kids and my grandkids just run to him, sit on his lap. He would never come over without gifts. Sometimes he would just drop gifts off at my door, not even knock. He would just leave them at the door. And he always just wanted to help, be there. On Christmas, he came over wearing a Christmas hat and a Christmas sweater, and you could tell he was uncomfortable because it was all itchy. And as soon as he got in the house, he took it off. He's like, I just wore this for the occasion. He would bring over flowers. He said, this bouquet is for the house, for the family, and this bouquet is for you. He just had 2 bouquets of flowers, and the most thoughtful, sweet man I've ever met, and I just feel it's so unfair. I just feel cheated because he gave me the idea, the hope that we could have a future together, and it's just so unfair that he was taken so soon. I'm just really pissed about it still. My kids told me, Mom, don't screw this one up. we want you to keep it. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to let him go. My sister met him, and she said, you're not going to take him, I'll take him. And I'm like, no, I'm taking him. I'm keeping this one. We'd known each other for a number of years, but we, just in passing, I met him through the Garcias, and he would always ask me out for coffee. I love his accent. And I'm not a coffee drinker, and so I'm like, we can go out to dinner or something, but I'm not really interested in coffee. And Nikki told me, he's not asking you out because he wants to go for coffee with you. He wants just to spend time with you. So it's not about the coffee. Tiffany, go with him. And I said, okay, I get it now. Just coffee was his life, just all the time. Whoever knows him knows that he was just 1 in a million. I'll never know anybody like him again. And I miss him a lot. I'm sure you all do. 1 in a million. I hope everybody is blessed and feeling his spirit here today. I know I do. Thank you.
Anybody else like to come up and share before it closes out? No, call your sponsor. All right, guys. Thank you guys again coming out. We're gonna come on up, brother Ben. What a better way to close.
Bring the wisdom.
Oh, sensei.
Good afternoon. My name is Ben.
Hi, Ben.
And I was here when all these New Yorkers flocked into Arizona. There was a saying back then, get a rope. I've been able to experience Erik's life from afar and then from close. You know, I was there when he got here, and I saw his life progress to getting sober, to getting into relationships and getting married. And the thing that sticks to me the most is when he was standing and waiting for Kathy to come up. I remember seeing him crying. You know, he was so happy.
Aww.
He was so happy. That moment stuck with me, and I remember when he first got this place, and you know, he was asking me questions about neighbors around here and stuff like that, and his neighbor next door wanted to put a fence 8 inches on his property, and I said, no. He goes, what do you mean? I go, no. Say no. And I'm glad he took the advice, because that can run into some pretty good legal problems later on. But I got one little story I'm going to tell about Erik. You know, I had him do some work. I had some of you do some work around the house. Fred, back on the farm, fixing some of our mobile homes and stuff. But Erik did some work around my house, and he put some cabinets in and all kinds of new stuff. And it took him 5 days to do it, and we talk every day. I'd sit there in the chair, watch him work, and we would talk, but we would not talk about money. We would not talk about material things. We would talk about the things that are important in life. To be born, to be somebody else. And I saw the transformation in Erik, because I tested him on a daily basis. I had him lying with a broken leg that fell over in my front yard, and every morning he'd stand it up and prop it up when he'd show up. After he'd leave, I'd knock it over again, because I knew he was coming the next day. And sure as shit, when he'd show up, he'd prop that line up. And that went on for 5 days. Finally, on the last day, he brought some glue. He brought some glue, and he put the glue on the line. And every time I leave my house, I see that, and I remember him, how persistent he was. And that was a good characteristic in Erik. I remember him and Kathy when Skylar was a baby, and they had some difficulties, and we would talk, and I would always remember, first thing I would tell him is to believe. Have faith. Have faith. And they did have faith, and here we are, I don't know how many years later, but a beautiful young little gal developed from that faith. But I didn't come here to say goodbye to Erik. I came to say, see you later. Because it doesn't end. The cycle continues, just on a different realm. Just on a different realm. And I believe that today, because everything I've ever learned in all the years I've been here, it says you have to die to live. And somebody was quoting some scriptures. In the scripture it says, to be born of the flesh is flesh, and to be born of the spirit is spirit. We have to leave the flesh to be born of spirit. And I believe Erik's in that realm, and I believe he's going to be there for a long time. Everywhere you look, he's there. As long as you keep him in here, you'll be fine. Thank you.
Thank you, Ben.
Sorry to double dip here, guys, but this is, I think, really relevant. Erik used to text me all kinds of stuff, but this is something that's handwritten by him, and you probably all know he was in a lot of pain the last couple of years. His back, his knee, and he was working on his health. I mean, he was very intentional and had plans to improve it, but this is something he wrote that he sent me. Lord, thank you. I wear my pain in my body as a badge of honor. For allowing me to live a full life of hard work and physical labor, a testament to your glory for instilling and creating me to be strong and skilled in my youth and beyond. Far beyond, Lord. For I am still here in your name, working hard and gratefully for the chores or chances. I will not let this pain in my body define me, but I pray that it is a daily reminder to be closer to you, slower, intentional, and deliberate in my living. Thank you, God.
Thank you, Jake. All right, the family invites you for fellowship, food, and I think they have the slideshows inside. There's a couple of memorial things